Я батько.
Я молодший брат.
Я водій маршрутки.
Я скоро одружуся. Я фанат шахтера. Начальник отдела продаж.
Я прораб.
Я программист.
Я свидетель на свадьбе.
Дядя Юра. Таксист.
Я вчитель фізкультури.
Я студент-геолог.
У мене своя фірма.
Я кращий друг зі школи.
Я сусід, який завжди стукає по батареї.
Я єдиний син.
And we are starting. Hello, everyone. Very nice seeing you. Let me just show you how this microphone works right here, and then we can start. Excellent start of the stream. As we always, very glad to see you all. Most importantly, I would like to start the stream with thanking the people that actually allow this all to happen, which is the moderating team. Thank you so much, guys, for taking your time with us, making sure that we can communicate in civilized manner without all these pesky trolls spamming into our chat lines with prejudice. Thank you so much. We have a lot of topics today to discuss. I prepared a couple of things, but I think I'm gonna more focus on delivering the video today. I actually was working on the video today, so today you're gonna be having like a sneak peek on about what's happening tomorrow, what's coming in tomorrow. But there's some interesting developments, some interesting discussions that we definitely need to have. I want to say big thanks to all of the people that support this channel. Support by either donations, buy me a coffee is the best one, because then compared to YouTube, it doesn't take a big cut like YouTube does. So buy me a coffee is great. But as always, I will ask you, if you're considering donating to me or any other Ukrainian cause, consider please links that the moderators will link in chat to donate to some of the official Ukrainian sources, where you can instead have the money delivered to the people that actually are fighting for the freedom of Ukraine. Please consider, I am not dependent on YouTube for my living. I am earning quite okay at my day job. It's a problem for you because I don't release video that often, but on the other hand, then it means that you're more welcome to donate to Ukrainian cause. Otherwise, if you still have some cash to spare, if you're not struggling for that, I appreciate support. It really helps the channel sustain itself, and it motivates me doing more. In any case, even if I run out of money, if I run out of people watching this, I will still continue doing this until the victory of Ukraine comes and we're going to be over with. Thank you so much, Phoenix, for being a member for 3 months. Hope we're having a great day. Yes, we do. Budvar, thank you so much for being a member for 8 months, which is incredible. Good evening, friends for Ukraine. Ivan, go home. Absolutely agree. Jakub P, thank you so much for being so generous for 20 gifted subs. Newman, you're subscribed for 5 months. Nice. Welcome, everyone. Hit the like button, please. A moderating team is asking for that. Captain Copenhagen, very nice seeing you again, my Danish friend. Yvonne, thank you so much for 5 gifted subs. With this boring intro out of the way, well, everything except for thanking the moderating team. I hope you put like some kind of hand clap in the chat. That would be very, very helpful of you. Otherwise, tell me how you feel, guys, while I'm going to set up this nice place where you can write your questions. Where are you writing from, especially? Oh, that was not planned. Here, there we go. And perfect. Live chat, questions. Perfect. There we go. Sub-Hero, thank you so much, my Bulgarian friend. Appreciate it. All right. So where are you coming from? Sweden, good. Los Angeles, good. Costa Rica, very nice. Israel. All my warm thoughts are coming to Israel. Czechia, very nice, my friend. Sve, absolutely. Sorry. Like probably in Swedish it's Sverige or something like this. I don't know how to speak Swedish. I only know how to read Swedish with a Danish accent. I'm sorry. Buffy the Vatnik Slayer. What a nice, merciless name. I appreciate that. All right. Great stuff. Great stuff. Zagreb, Latvia. Very nice. For people in Latvia, I actually did a little bit of a sneak peek. I actually got invited to give a talk on the national radio, Latvia's radio. And there's actually supposed to be an interview coming somewhere, either on Latvian radio or it's like one of the associated author program on the Latvian radio. I am actually not completely sure what's their specific, because I don't have Latvian radio here in Denmark, so I don't know how it sounds and where it appears. But apparently, yes, I did a little bit of a presentation in Latvian for Latvian radio. Suomi, very nice, Finland, welcome. Bulgaria, Italy, Portugal, Sweden, Oregon, USA is great. Very nice. Though USA got me worried with the election of new speaker. I got really worried a little bit, but then I started thinking, and maybe it's not as bad. Maybe we can talk about it later on. We'll see. Maybe towards the end of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about US. I'm not going to wear the hat though. No more hats. Like the hats are now prohibited. So people, let me know both on email and in chat and everywhere. Let me know that I should not wear the hat. But that now I'm having an extortion. Basically, I can talk about US politics or I'm wearing the hat. There we go. Yeah, speaker is fucked for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of things are fucked. A lot of things. Today, not a very cheerful, not a very happy place. We're right now in a very tough spot. Ukraine is being challenged on many fronts. Ukraine is being challenged in war, as we can see right now. With Russians are throwing pretty much everything that can try to stick to the wall. All calculations show that it should not work, but there is a potential for it to work, because I don't know what Ukraine is doing, but Ukrainian military is definitely challenged a little bit. And again, we can talk a little bit details why they're challenged, like to do some kind of reality check. But I think I already spoken a little bit about that. But bigger problems right now are on the political front line. The appearance of Fico from Slovakia is even more devastating than we were expecting. So from now on, there are 2 votes inside of EU that are denying Ukraine aid, and they're like basically hell bent on denying any kind of aid to Ukraine. If when there was just one Orban, it was a little bit of a issue, there was a lot of go around and so on. The problem right now with 2 people is not just the actual problem of 2 people coalition. It's now that people see 2 countries resisting additional aid for Ukraine. There are countries that would rather have no problem with Russia, that go along with Ukrainian and with Ukrainian pro-Ukrainian narratives, but they would be nothing against like further trading with Russia and so on. Countries like Greece, where for a longer time they've been benefiting by giving Russia access to their ports, by giving Russia access to their fleet of vessels, by benefiting a lot from the Russian dirty money. Other countries that are safe havens for Russian dirty money, they are also benefiting. So, and they're taking position of, well, there is two more countries, that are resisting Ukraine. Maybe we should have negotiations. Basically, it opened a leeway for them to be assholes a little bit more than to, like, they don't want to resist. Like they say, if there is going to be a majority, we will, of course, vote for Ukraine. Absolutely sure. But it just gives them a little bit more options not to do anything. So do nothing countries, let's put it this way. So that's the unfortunate truth. So very hard on European. Good news is that European Union is not the whole Europe. European Union still consists of the sovereign nation states, and majority of help that Ukraine was getting was from the sovereign nation states. And that sovereign nation states that were giving help to Ukraine are going to continue giving help to Ukraine. Slovakia is a little bit problematic. So Slovakia is not going to be helping, but previous Slovak government has really helped Ukraine a lot when Ukraine needed it, and they provided exactly what Ukraine needed at the time. So huge thanks to both people and the previous government of Slovakia for supporting Ukraine at that moment. Right now, it's shit. Let's be honest. But yeah, we should not expect that you will do anything. I believe any kind of positive action for Ukraine might happen in EU if negotiations that are ongoing right now on a potential rework of the EU foreign policy decisions that will remove the unanimity requirements for the foreign policy and instead move to qualified majority. At that moment, I will see that potentially, we will see certain change in the EU policy. For people saying, why don't EU throw out Hungary and Slovakia out of EU? Firstly, it's just democratic process, at least in Slovakia, right? Being unpopular countrymen and so on, Slovakia is still a democracy. Hungary, less so. But even if we want to throw out Hungary, the issue with that is there is no mechanism in the European Union rules that allows removal of a country. And the problem with that is to get that rule installed, there is still a unanimity rule. So Hungary can block that rule. And Slovakia will also help. So unfortunately, EU as a current help to Ukraine is paralyzed because Putin's puppets are in government. And to be honest, I'm not even sure that Fico is, I mean, like, he is probably benefiting from a lot of Putin's dirty money, but like, he openly hates Ukraine. He openly hates Ukrainians. He literally openly says that we shouldn't send basically humanitarian aid. Says maybe humanitarian, maybe. You know, like it's a bigger discussion. It's terrible, absolutely inhumane. Absolutely despiteful. But yeah, to be honest, my bigger problem is maybe not him. My bigger problem is some of the people that went into coalition with him. Because, so the party that went into coalition with Fico is his party, which is supposedly like a left-wing populist. Then there is a social democrat populist, at least Wiki, like Slovaks can help you explain where I'm wrong in the chat right now and help educate you. And then the super ultra right wings. So when you're a socialist left wing and you're going into coalition with super ultra right wings, you have something really wrong about your priorities. At least in my worldview. But that's the current coalition government in Slovakia. Left-winger social democrats with ultra-right wings. Absolutely fucking incredible. Why did Slovaks vote for this jerk? Populism has been prevalent throughout Europe. Europe is a very difficult place to not live, but let's just say there is a lot of issues in Europe. And a lot of those issues are very, very complex. Very complex. There is no quick solutions for a lot of those issues. And people that actually try to do certain populism, they just benefit from it so much. Just because European Union is so difficult for a lot of people to understand, having like some kind of populist slogans or like an enemy that is easily to blame for all of the things is an easy way out. And when European Union, especially being a continent that's been ravaged by one problem after another for, Jesus, like since 2008, I believe. I don't remember like a chill year, to be honest. Since 2008, it was always some weird shit. I can see a lot of people especially people from not the capital cities, not the metropolitan, highly educated people, whatever, this luxury bullshit. No, normal people, like people that have their farms, people that have their bars, people that have just normal work with anywhere, just normal people. And for them, like, yeah, like that's the guy that talks in my level. I mean, people from US can easily understand this. The same people voted for Trump. It's pretty much the same thing. It's like, he's just simple, relatable, like it's a guy that I can get behind. By the way, one of the things why I think Ramaswamy has no chance, because he's too smart for his own good. Like Trump was never that smart. Trump was always like this lovable, simple guy. At least that's how he was described. No one hates Slovakia or Slovenia, first and foremost. Like, I don't like current government of Slovakia. It's anti-Ukraine. For that, I don't like government of Slovakia. Slovenia is a very nice place. We have many friends from Slovenia. EU Article 7 could remove Hungarian right to vote, but was blocked always by Poland. Well, now it's going to be blocked by Slovakia. So we're still not going anywhere. Slovenia. No, it's not Slovenia. It's Slovakia. Jesus fucking Christ. It's not Slovenia. It's Slovakia. Stop Slovenia shaming, guys. Please. Oh my God. People are all right. So that's the challenge on the European stage. And especially we have been struggling with deliveries of weapons to Ukraine for a longer time. I've talked about this in lengths. And now we are seeing that just this week came out a report saying that European Union is lagging behind by its promise of delivering up to 1 million shells, I believe, by next year to Ukraine. And we are like, they're delivering 300,000 shells. And which was fun to compare, as North Korea delivered 350,000 shells to Russia, at least estimated 350,000 shells to Russia, artillery shells. Which, again, for me as a European, this is what matters. We support Ukraine here. Absolutely support Ukraine. We agree on that, guys. Agree? But I think one of the major important things that we need to always focus is ourselves as well. And for me, it is much scarier, and I'm really mad at my own government, in my own states, be it Latvia or Denmark. I'm mad at everyone. But you should be mad at your governments that all of the European powers combined, like a fucking Captain Planet cosplayers, all of the European planets, they are combined able to put out less shells on the table than one North Korea. What does this say about the state of our security? What does this say about the state of our defense industries? I am literally shitting myself. Like, it's great that Ukrainians just decided to resist Russia. Imagine if Ukraine would be more of a pro-Russian orbit. Imagine that Ukraine, instead of resisting Russian occupation right now, would instead be like Belarus. And then we would have Russia together with Belarus, together with Ukraine, whatever Ukraine is having, without Ukraine exploding a lot of ammunition, without Obama coming to Ukraine to destroy weapons, and so on and so on and so on. How would we fare? How would we work? Where is our defense? So my issue is with Europe. And this is not to shit on our European states. I love where I live. Like Denmark, the best. Absolutely amazing. But it really makes me scared when all of the European states like the major economic superpowers of the world, fucking just giants, like, you know, like a bodybuilding competition for countries. They're like, you know, squeezing their ass cheeks, and you can see the contours of all of the rivers, like veins just going down their butts, like something on that level. And then they try to produce something, and it's shit. Like it's a shart. Like they basically squeeze their ass cheeks so hard that it's like, you know, all pretty on the inside, and then a wet fart comes out. Makes me really afraid for where we are as a continent, and how are we even resisting any threats. So write your local representatives, guys. I think this is really bad. I thought we are slowly getting on the pace of finally understanding, hey, Russia is not stopping there. You know, Russia can still do damage in Europe. Maybe it's not going to take over Germany or whatnot, but it still can do damage. Like the missiles can fly. We see that a lot of air defense systems, like, well, yeah, it's like they don't help if there is like a 2,000 of drones are flying in. If Russia just stops for like 3 years and uses those 3 years to build those drones, hey, maybe there's like 10,000 of drones are flying. How are you going to shoot them down? How you like them apples? You see the point that I'm making. So where is our fucking defense? And we need to ask this. We need to write to our local representatives in Europe and say, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. Why Ukraine is being so slow? Why are we so slow on deliveries to Ukraine? Ukraine is making us safer. Now we're not safe because Ukraine is not being successful. When was the last delivery of armored vehicles? When was the last delivery of infantry fighting vehicles to Ukraine? When was the last delivery of armored vehicles? When was last delivery of vehicles to Ukraine? Can you name me, chat? You see what I'm saying? We are losing the connection with Ukraine. We are trying to make sure that, oh, Ukraine wins. Yes. If before, like, let's put it this way. If before the first year, there was a lot of really wrong words said out loud. They were saying, it's like, oh my God, you know, Ukraine, yeah, maybe they should consider Russia is really threatening. Maybe we should get an off-ramp for Putin to allow Putin to save his face. Fucking atrocious. Now, every single politician absolutely slams it. He goes out on like on a podium, gets his big ass dick, slaps it on the speaker's pedestal, and is like, "Yep, we need to support Ukraine. We need to boost our production. We need to make sure that deliveries are made and Ukraine wins this war because we are NATO. We are strong." Then the dick's being pulled in, back in, zipped, and then nothing happens. And then we expect deliveries, and then we go back to delivery amounts like it was the start of the war, with basically just repair equipment, anti-air systems, and life vests, or like a defense jackets. What is this? Where is our industry? If we cannot stand industry, our industry cannot stand toe-to-toe with North Korea alone, we're fucked. And obviously this is first and foremost very good for Ukraine. No, sorry, very bad for Ukraine. I'm very good, amazing. This is the second part that Europe is really failing on Ukraine. And then we go to US. And US is also not very good for Ukraine. The fact that Republicans cannot get their shit together, they were able to get the speaker that is a protege of a president that's being sunk harder than Titanic. I don't know what they're thinking right now in US. So now we have speaker that says, well, you know, we cannot allow Putin to win. He's like, great, let's vote. That, no. Need to consider it. Need to make sure what is done. And like, if Biden tells us what he's going to use the money for, it's like, fucking weapons. The money is going to be, like, ask me where money goes. I'm going to tell you that it kills Russians. Did I just find out where the money and the weapons that US is sending goes? Maybe there are videos of what US weapons are doing in Ukraine so we can actually, well, track. I'm not sure about that. The point is, a lot of internal politics is really dragging. It's like making sure that US is really dragging the feet. We started good, but now we're going into political turmoil. Like the election period is going to be a nightmare. My hope was that Ukraine would initially stay out of it as a topic. It would stay out of it as a neutral argument that we can get behind, such as like right now Israel is being perceived. Like, we have a lot of internal discordance, but you know, democracy and protection of democracy is something that just needs to be done. It's like breathing. It's just the things that you need to do. And now it's becoming the fucking definitive. Like, and the worst part is it's being still continuously brought up as some kind of definitive discourse topic. And this is really bad. Really bad. Really bad. Though I'm hoping that with that, maybe if there's going to be more internal conflict, and I'm sorry that I'm saying it because this conflict is also important, between Israel and Palestine, and now with all of the Islamic countries are like riling up and don't want to call Hamas terrorists, all of the Islamic countries right now rising up. Have you seen the videos with the Turkish with Erdogan giving statements and then people around him chanting, "Send troops to Gaza, send troops to Gaza"? So it's like there's a certain political turmoil in the Middle East. Again, maybe that will take focus a little bit for Ukraine, and then it's gonna be like kind of like, okay, never mind. It's not really that big of an issue, because factually it's not an issue. The amount of money that US is sending to Ukraine is like it's less than just tips you leave at the bar. Though probably bad comparisons, because like in US tips are enormously high. Jesus Christ. It's like I go to the bar to US and it's like, "Hey, would you like to tip?" I was like, "Sure, yeah, I can leave a tip." And there's like 20, 25, 30%. And I'm like, "Is that a tip? Is that a tip?" Like when I was growing up, it was like, well, tip is like, 10%, maybe 15. Now it's like 20, 25, 30. Fuck me. Like, what the hell? That's like just 30% more. And I know that tipping is really required for a lot of people, because there is like specifics of how the wages are, which is fucked up in its own right. But the point is like the tipping is very bad comparison. 20% is a good tip. Yeah, but like that's the starting tip. Like when it gives me like, would you like to tip? And like is a terminal is like 20, 25, 30. There you go. Welcome to US. Yeah. It was very interesting. It was very interesting. Yeah, I mostly tipped like 25% ish, something. I don't know. Yeah, like 25% is like sales tax. That's like sales tax. That's a lot. All right, let's get to some questions. People have wrote some questions. We're gonna get to some of these topics, but I hope it's clear what made me really frustrated this week. That we're now dragging our feet. What we've been doing so far before as well. Fair enough. But only now we're hiding behind we as Western powers, US, Europe, whatever. That we're now hiding behind good words for Ukraine. It's like, go Ukraine, you can do it. Are you going to send weapons or not? It's like, but you can do it. Makes me unsafe. What area is open for offense in mud season? Beaches of Crimea? I mean, all areas are open for offense. Like, Aleutians, offense can be done. It's more difficult. It's more costly. It's unfavorable. So the fact that there is a rain season, it only prevents a lot of high maneuver offensives, such as we've seen initial stages at Avdiivka, where those many long columns were driving to the positions of Ukrainians. However, we see now, after a couple of weeks at the offensive of Avdiivka, now Russians have moved towards more of a like ground based infantry tactics. So focus around infantry most. And for infantry, mud season is not as devastating as it is. It is definitely more problematic. I would believe that Russia has about 2 weeks right now, I checked the weather, until mud seasons really kicks off. So they would hope probably within 2 weeks to try to get definitive foothold around Avdiivka. So maybe during the winter, like with a slow crawling offensive, they can try to cut it off completely. All right. How big of a problem is Orban? It's pretty big because he blocks the like Orban, because of the how EU works by the rule of unanimity, is blocking any kind of support, which is mostly non-weapon based. It's a support for relief for people that are displaced, that are injured, like it's a humanitarian help, most of it. So what Orban is doing, they're blocking the help for Ukraine that is mostly targeting people that require civilian help. It's not the weapons that Orban is blocking. Weapons, thankfully, are coming from specific countries themselves. So Orban is a problem because he's preventing anything, and now with Fico, it's even worse. It's a big problem. It's an actual problem. Is the Ukrainian aid in trouble with the new Speaker of House, Mike Johnson's? We will see. Like Mike Johnson, for me, sounds super generic. Like, gotta say, like I was not sure if I can believe that there was actually a guy named Mike Johnson. Like it's just sounds so generic. It's like, you know, like a default name for an American person. I'm sorry, it's a little bit funny, but the point is, I have no idea. Like, I only know that he's a Trump protege, that he's like a huge Trump supporter, and that he voted to overturn the fair and truthful democratic elections, which is telling for me a lot. It's like red flag, red flag, red flag. So I don't know. It might be bad. It might be good. Like, because Mike Johnson, at least for me, comes out, and again, you can correct me, maybe he was like a superstar and I'm just ignorant that I never knew about him. Maybe he's like superstar of the century. But for me, it looks like that he was like, how do you say, like a candidate that was, oh my God, where's the word that I'm looking for? Like an agreement candidate, whereas like parties agreed in between themselves to come to a compromise. Compromise candidate, there we go. A compromise candidate between the far rights and the other Republicans. And the thing is, for me, it's a huge red flag, because these people, like Putin is that kind of person. Putin became president because he was this weird gray nobody. That's why he was elected president, because there was no one better. There was a huge discourse in Russia at the end of the 90s, and it was unclear what's going to be with the candidacy. And that's how Putin came to power, because he's this weird, useless gray guy. The problem is that a lot of people like this, when they get to the actual places of power, very often it can get to their heads. Very often they can start thinking of themselves like they are the hot shit, like they are the rulers of this world, that it's some kind of a, you know, like a providence from a god or something to come and fix America in this case. So I am a little bit worried about it. He's not a Trumper. He literally voted for everything for Trump. Ragnar, are you sure about that? Like, what? He's American Taliban, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I think. So right now, I'm carefully pessimistic. What is known the state of the nuclear power plant currently held by Sputniks? It's okay. Hello, hello. Jeff, do you think Ukraine will hold the front line this winter? Yes. Data relay, how big of a problem is Orban? I already answered that. Per Hagland, George, you pronounced the name Sweden correctly. Bravo. Tak? Eller tak? Yeah, Mike Jackson is absolutely a MAGA guy. Well, there we go. Sub-Hero is knowing it. Okay, Roman Stingler. Russia claimed to have shot down ATACMS. Did they recognize their own planes as ATACMS? Yeah, probably. As far as I understand, it was news when ATACMS hit some of their S-400 systems. That's when they claimed that they actually shut down ATACMS. So, I mean, probably technically in report is like ATACMS came down, our systems, like like in the report there was anti-air systems and ATACMS in the same report. So they probably just put 2 and 2 together and says, hey, you know, it's close enough. Russia claim, okay, if Russia is focusing in Avdiivka, which seems like they are, with the reinforcements are pulling here, what will it mean for the other front lines? Will they be only sparsely defended? Yes, to an extent, but you need to understand beyond that it's not about how much people are defending specific part of the front line. It's about the balance of forces. It's about how much resources and forces Ukraine has in one area compared to how much resources and forces Russia has in one area. Russia decided to go into this absolutely mind-numbing suicidal attack. They're throwing everything. This is obviously hard to stop because Ukraine, they were not preparing for this kind of offense. Well, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure they were preparing for a lot of things. But the point is that it's difficult, and it entangles also Ukrainian resources. So if Ukraine would have a lot more resources, like more tanks, more infantry fighting vehicles, you know, more ammunition, if Ukraine would have more of those resources, then they potentially could go like, oh, now Russia is exposed. But because Russia is throwing so much at that main direction, I believe until that main direction is contained, because so far it is not contained yet. We need to be very clear. Right now, Ukrainians are doing their best at slowing down Russians, but we cannot say yet that Avdiivka direction is contained. It's not. And there is still a threat for the Avdiivka Harrison? Not Harrison? You get me. Yes. So it's not contained yet. So once it will be, I believe then maybe Ukraine will do. Or Ukraine is planning something already. We don't know. Hey, Georgie, Brian, in what direction do Ukraine's next big ground gain will come? Good question. There is no answer for it yet. It is unclear that there will be a big ground gain at this moment. Ukraine, like, let's talk about problems of Ukraine. Let's talk about real problems, like something that usually is for some reason not discussed. Mostly things are discussed about the problems of Ukraine in a paradigm of propaganda narratives, which is complete nonsense. So the actual problem of Ukraine with Ukrainian armed forces is that their professional armed forces, that Zaluzhny and everyone else that were studying Ukraine, are gone. They're not there anymore. Ukrainian armed forces are gone in a sense of that they was pre-invasion. The whole year Ukraine that was defending against Russians, holding on all of the Russian attacks without proper resources, has cost the lives of the best of Ukrainian armed forces. Many of them since then has gotten injuries, and so on and so on. New Ukrainian army that Ukraine is having on the ground is an army that consists mostly of mobilized people. It's a mobilized army. It's a huge mobilized army. a lot of challenges come with people being mobilized, that they are not military, and that Ukraine didn't have sufficient military staff to make sure that all of them are trained. Ukraine didn't have a lot of equipment, which is mostly a little bit by little being settled. And more importantly, Ukraine didn't have sophisticated training with the officer corps. A lot of the officers that came in from reserves are not very good. Let's just put it simply. They either decided to study to be an officer just as a check mark because it was an easy pass during the 90s, or they were studying Soviet tactics, which modern Ukrainian military doesn't really work with. So Ukrainian mobilized army that consists with, yes, I've seen the latest Covered Cabal video, the modern Ukrainian army that consists of these many mobilized men. The professional army was there to buy time for Ukrainians. And now we are seeing a mobilized army stand against a mobilized army from Russian side, because Russian army, professional army, is also gone. It's out. Even their professional VDV units, they are like 50% max. Everything else is reconstituted. Ukraine now has faced the challenge that the level of military expertise has dropped significantly. It's dropped significantly. Not only the level of expertise, but also the level of like heroism, devotion, and so on that's prevalent in a lot of professional armies. And this is a problem because Ukraine was trying at some point, I saw, to execute certain difficult maneuvers. They're trying to execute certain different actions that require certain level of professionalism. And current Ukrainian army does not have that professionalism. And that's the actual challenge. And now Ukraine is faced with this very uneasy situation where their previous tactics, where their previous estimates for how the combat should be fought, how many troops and vehicles and everything else should be on the battlefield to fight the Russians as the enemy, does not work anymore. It's gone. Like, it's gone because no more are the professional army in the defensive positions and no more are the professional army in the attacking positions for Ukraine. The advantage of professionalism is erased right now. And this is a real problem for Ukrainians. This was shown very specifically during their offensive. So when you're saying that, well, what about like ground gains for Ukrainian military? Big ground gains, big specific tasks require specialized maneuver to be done, maneuvers and actions to be done. If Ukrainian army is not professional enough to execute those maneuvers, will there be a ground gain or not? Now, Russia has adapted to it. Russia said, okay, we have shit army. Fair enough. Let's simplify our tactics. And they say, okay, we'll simplify our tactics. Problem with simplified tactics, it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more lives. It's going to cost more resources. It's not going to be pretty. This is not something that Ukraine has shown that it wants to go down to. Ukraine said, yeah, but we can't. Like, because our human resource is lower than Russians. Our human resource is less capable. So the only way that Ukraine can go forward is to try to build up that professionalism. That professionalism that was built up over years. That's the only way. So the problem is that Russians are also learning, yes, but they're also using simpler tactics and they are accepting a higher rate of losses. Something that Ukraine has shown that they don't want to accept. And this might be a very big mistake for Ukrainians. And that is an actual real challenge that Ukrainian army and generals of the Ukrainian army are struggling. How do you make an army that is poorly trained, that is large in numbers, try to fight against another army that is also poorly trained, but also large in numbers, when they are executing certain actions and they're ready to take the losses for them, and your army that you're trying to build is not ready to take those losses because of political will, because of the way that Ukrainian military is structured. It's a good question for you guys to think about. Like, I'm going to put it here. I don't have an answer for this, just to be clear. I will put it for you to, after this stream, to brainstorm. I don't know, go to the bar with your food, talk with your buddy or something. It's an interesting brainstorming topic to consider. If you have any comments and so on, would be interesting. I will maybe pick up this topic. But it's an actual problem. It's an actual huge problem. All right, let's go further. Also, questions, write in the questions here section, guys, just so I can follow them. As long as Norway has got your back, you're good. Thanks. To what do you attribute the focus on the Middle East as opposed to continue focus on almost 2 years on the Russian aggression? I think Biden said it the best. He said that while those are different conflicts, ultimately they are in the same space of danger for us, for the Western world. So I think Biden was on point here. Helen Dunn, does Ukraine have the ability to produce ammo domestically in case of US aid stops? Limited. The scale is only beginning, the scaling is only beginning right now for Ukrainian weapons productions. They need at least 2 more years. Ukraine needs at least 2 more years dedicated building up their production. They don't have it enough yet. Are heavy caliber shotguns effective against orc drones? I think you're living in a fantasy world. It's like the same level as like, hey, why don't drone just drop bombs to demine minefields? You misunderstand the scale of the war. You misunderstand the distances and perspectives of the battlefield. The EU doesn't have a massive weapons industry that is used to have during the Cold War. The whole idea was to trade with Russia, with the German Ostpolitics. It takes time for the weapons that we need to build. Yes. And I'm saying that we're already almost 2 years into the war and we're still not there. 2 years. What are we doing? We'll see. Maybe Jake's Broke has more information about it. You need to invite to discuss this. I don't know what this was for, but sure. Do you think US will continue finding its funding past 2023? Yes. What would be the outcome if NATO countries collectively decided to participate in Ukrainian defense? That would be the only right thing to do. NATO should have been intervening in Ukraine right away. But because we were so afraid of, oh no, nuclear, no, Russia will escalate. It's like, yeah, we were not ready. Our political sphere were not ready. I think by this point, we are more ready, but the fact that we're not doing it yet just shows us that we are still not completely understanding the nature of the conflict and the situation where we're in. Europe needs to clean their own house first of corruption as well as Ukraine. I mean, corruption is a problem for everyone. It's like corruption is in Ukraine not as prevalent as everyone thinks. I watched someone who was talking about corruption really, really well. I forgot who it was. If I remember, I'll link the video. Sergey L., just to say thank you for your support. Greetings from Odessa. Thank you so much, Sergey. Stay safe. Kellis, does the election FICO also mean that the planned long-term aid from EU to Ukraine of circa 50 billion euros are off the table? Yes, for now, 50 billions are off the table. Richard Stevens, when America falls into fascism, will you sponsor me to immigrate? Lol, love your perspective. Yeah, but I would hope that you would fight fascism. Because, like, let's put it this way. One of my bigger critiques is that Russians don't fight for what they claim to believe, especially the Russian opposition. And when you say it's like, oh, US will just become fascist and I will just run. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Kalendan, do you think F-16s will make a difference next year if provided enough airframes? Yes, F-16 can be a real definitive part of the battlefield, but there need to be a lot of it. At least 100. At least 100. What would be the outcome if NATO countries collectively decide to... already answered. Georgie, if Russia attacked Turkey from the rear, do you think Greece would help? Also, it's not Greece, it's Greece with a C, double E-C, not Greece. Yes, because otherwise, like if Russia attacked... Oh, wait. Now I know the joke. Now I get the joke. Okay, that's a stupid joke. Okay, yeah. Russia attacks Turkey from behind, and Greece would help. Okay, funny. Neem, currently it seems that alliance membership gives the opportunity to watch genocide and does not intervene. Yes. Robert Harrington, the USA is putting a combined Israel and Ukrainian military aid package together to get support too. Yes, but Mike already said that they should be voted separately. The Speaker of the House, new one. Putin proof of life. Like, come on. Seriously, again? Are we going to this again? Nelson Silva, have you seen Russian supply trains destroyed near the front of or rear lines? Yes. Jabata, under which conditions the beachheads on the left bank of Dnieper could involve bigger threat to the orcs? Good question. I mean, they're a threat already, but there is no permanent supply. I think if there would be an established, like a bridge over Dnipro, and Russia would try to shell it, and they would not be able to destroy it for like a week or two, then it would show that Ukraine really has a plan and they were able to establish certain control over Dnipro. At that moment, I would start considering they should start sweating bullets. Georgies, with the issues Ukraine has laid out, do you see Ukrainian victory? Yes. What is the ticket? Is a combination of high-tech weaponry, training, attrition, more stuff. Ukraine needs resources. Ukraine needs to trade. Like, Ukraine right now has a lot of manpower. They need to boost that manpower. They need ammunition, weapons, everything. So the more weapons Ukraine gets, just the quantity of it, the more time it will buy for Ukrainian troops to learn, to get involved and so on. The more boost those. The main keyword here is quantity. Quantity. Ukraine needs quantity of everything. It's already working. Like, don't get me wrong, because Russian army is like the problem of Russian mobile, like Russian problem is that you can do this attacks with simplified forces and everything. But at some point, you will have to do that cycle again. You would again need to get a lot of people, and you would need to train them, and you would need to get additional weapons and so on. We see that Russia is slowly but surely running out of vehicles. Covert Cabal did a couple of videos just recently counting artillery system, counting tanks and AFVs. Really great videos. Just watch Covert Cabal videos. You can see that with the current rate of attrition that Ukraine is delivering to Russia, Russia has about 2 years-ish of more or less, 1 year comfortable fighting left, and about 2 years of fighting period. So Ukraine needs to be provided with just more stuff to continue grinding on over these next 2 years. And hopefully after that, Russia is going to be done and over. So I see victory for Ukraine, but it's not going to be a fast victory. There is nothing fast. Ukraine doesn't have the forces or anything. At least so far it doesn't seem so. There were certain comments from certain analysts that they were saying that, that Ukraine has not really used a lot of their attacking forces during the summer campaign, that potentially a lot of the forces that were saved, that they were now reconstituted and they are now being prepared to attack somewhere else, and Ukraine was actually just slowly attacking with small groups on the Rabotina direction, but they actually didn't attack anywhere else on the front line. I've heard those analysts talking. I've heard those analysts discussing whether or not Ukraine still has certain like a attacking fist. And Potentially, yes. Potentially. But I'm not seeing yet where it can be applied. And I don't know if Ukraine still has the resources, because losses that Ukraine sustained were significant during the summer. Pilots are still professionals, that's true. Worst case scenario, if American and European Union stop sending weapons, will individual countries be able to send enough to win, or at least to keep the stalemate? No. No, Luigi, no. Like, if US and America will stop supporting Ukraine, Russia has enough authoritarian powers and money that is being sent from the Western countries to buy its way out of this war still. The stockpiles in Russia are just that big. Isn't Ukraine's strategy like the race between the tortoise and the hare? Sure and steady wins the race. I'm not sure what this refers to, but I'm not sure what this refers to. I don't understand the parallels here. If Ukraine received F-16s before Avdiivka, could it help win defense? Yes, 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 yes. Airframes are needed like a year ago. Everything helps. Every single new capability helps. ATACMS came in, it helped. Destroying 20 helicopters really helped. Really helped. Ukrainians are saying we're seeing less helicopters. Yes, it helps. Isn't Denmark reopening to arms factory? Yes, but like the quantities, the quantities. Like every single country saying is like, oh, we're gonna open factory. France saying we're gonna boost our weapons production to 60,000 per year or something like that. 60,000 shells. Ukraine is using now about 10,000 shells per day. So like the whole country of France, one of the greatest weapon producers in the world, supposedly, produces 6 days supplies of shells in a year. Australia still has to give military aid. Do you think they will? I actually don't know, to be honest. Australia was a weird case because they started kind of strong. They were the first to send the M113s, I believe, and some of the MRAPs. But since then, I haven't heard like any Australian in the chat, any Aussie in the chat that can tell me about it. Would be really nice. All right, let's read some of the Roman's life. With our powers combined, we have Captain Georgie. Hope you have been well, brother. Yes, I'm fine. Problem is Western countries have been complacent for decades, hence why we are where we are. Agreed, Roman. Agree, Roman. What I'm saying is that if we take the most not consumerist, but the most brutal, practical for our needs, like selfish argument, and saying, oh, Ukraine is stuck in Russia in this conflict, so while they're fighting, Russia is not fighting us. The more we drag this on, the more dangerous it breaks for us. And we are not drawing our lessons to build up our own defenses. Imagine Ukraine just like something goes wrong with your calculations and Ukraine crumbles. I don't know what. Like imagine a situation, worst case scenario. Zelensky dies, I don't know, some pro-Putin Arestovich comes in, says, okay, I am now selling Ukraine to Russia, we are brotherly nations, let's go for Baltics, let's go for Poland. What then? Like we say, oh, okay, NATO countries will fight. Well, like with what? We don't even have shells productions. North Korea has more shells than us. We will win Russia, even with Ukraine and everything. But it's going to cost us. It's going to be like, I will go probably fight to Latvia. Like if Latvia gets invaded, I will go fight right away. But a lot of like us Europeans will fucking die. For what? Like, why couldn't we just like get our shit together, build a factory, produce more stuff, send it over? Quantity. We're still living in some fantasy world, like whole Europe, living in some weird fantasy world where this is like some small scale conflict. And it's not like millions of people fighting millions of people, which it is right now. What about Swedish Gripen? I heard Ukrainian pilots are already training on them. Would be nice. Once I see it, I believe it. Clota, YouTube channel sub-brief figured out that there is a fleet of Russian ships moving heavy weapons through the Bosphorus Strait, which is against the Monroe Convention. Why isn't NATO stopping this? There's a fleet of Russian ships moving heavy weapons through the... as far as I'm aware, Monroe Convention, like, I'm not completely sure. Like, actually, let me Google this. But as far as I was aware, Montreux Convention was like only for the military ships. It didn't say that if your ships is carrying weapons, it cannot go. Let me see. Montreux Convention. Okay. Terms. The route will... okay, that's the canal. Let me actually... I'll open wiki with you, so you can read along. All right, let's see. Regards maritime traffic through the Turkish Strait guarantees complete freedom of passage for civilian vessels in times of peace. In peacetime, military vessels are limited in number, tonnage, and weaponry with specific... pass-through. Warships must provide advance notifications. In wartime, if Turkey is not involved in conflict, warships of the nations of war may not pass through the straits except when returning to their base. Case at war. Yeah, okay, so you see it has, like, at least on this surface level, like Wikipedia, it says more specifically warships. So if it's just like a civilian ship that is carrying weapons, it's not a warship technically. It's technicalities, I think, matter in this case a little bit. Yes. Okay, I actually have something else. I actually have something else to share with you guys. An exclusive for tomorrow, so to say. I'm gonna switch to my... Oh, I'm now having a how do you say, this tablet that I'm using to draw, so I can draw dicks a lot more freely. That's like a spaceship, Jesus Christ, spaceship dick. But deep state. Okay, let's see, deep state. All right. Okay, so what I wanted to share is that I've actually was able to find out. It took me a while, and that's actually why today is no video. It's because I was still calculating and so on. So Avdiivka. And Avdiivka, there we go. So let's say number of troops. I actually found out how many troops are in Avdiivka on this area over here. It's more like on this area here. So what Russia is sending, since this stream is named Send Everything, what is everything? I actually took my time to find out. So Russia is having, let me see my notes. Russia is having so 12 brigades, 12 separate brigades. These are like the mobile rifle team. I don't know, mobile riflemen. It's separate motor rifle brigades. There we go. So there's 12 of them. So that's like from 30 to 60,000, and that's like a 100% completion. So that's like 100%. Then there are motor rifle tank regiments. There are in total 16 regiments in motor rifle tank regiments. So that gives us from about tank regiments. That's like from 24 to 48,000. 24 to 48,000. Then we go into the separate rifle regiments of reserve. It's in total 11 regiments of reserve rifles. That's a very weird M, but okay. Riflemen. So that's like additional around 5,500 to 6. To up to 16.5 thousand. It varies. Yes. That now it looks like more like an M. It's okay. So somewhere here. And then we go, and then it's separate rifle battalions. So there's additional separate 22 separate rifle battalions. And that goes into about 11 to 33,000, I believe, approximately. And then there is reserve and reserve. Reserve is how much is it? 4, 5, 7. So it's somewhere around between 8,000 to 16 to 18,000. So that's the number of troops. So where do we end up with this? Well, the total number of all of this, so in manpower, in Avdiivka direction right now, if we take the rough numbers, it's anywhere between 79,000 to about 162,000. Now, this was the estimates that I made based on this 100% estimates. We know for sure that Russians are never having 100% completion of their units, and a lot of their units have already saw action. So we can easily, quickly, and very roughly say that it's not 100%, so it's 60%. So okay, if we take 60% from that, and I need my calculator for that because math is hard. So if I say 79, oh shit. So it's, if it's 60%, then it's is it actually streaming? Like just so I know, because like if I would, for example, not stream the numbers, that would be very, very hilarious. So it's anywhere from 740, let's say 8,000 to anywhere to like 98,000. That's about numbers. So we can say, roughly speaking, Avdiivka front line is probably around 100K-ish. Very, very roughly. But that's manpower. Like maybe okay, maybe like so 70 to 100K. Because Russia is constantly sending additional forces into that area. So this snapshot of troops that I got might not be completely accurate. That's the personnel. Then the vehicles. So for the vehicles, we're having again the same units. And then I estimated vehicles. So in total, Yes, in total it might be up to 2,500. No, wait, no, not two. No, it's only this. Up to 3,000 AFVs. And tanks up to wait, shit, no. Wrong number. Not 3,000, sorry. That's a lot more than I was expecting. I was looking at personnel. Never mind. I was like, is this it? Like, are you sure it's 3,000? No. So let's just count. So 60, 70, 100,000, like let's say up to 70. So it's like okay. So, yeah, no, it's actually it's okay. Never mind. I was actually almost correct. So it's like up to like 3,000. Yeah, that's a good number. So I was actually right. Up to 3,000 and tanks like up to 1K tanks. Now, from what I've seen, it doesn't look that these numbers are there. It feels that right now it's not all of them is being used. So again, we can use the 60%. Thankfully, this is a lot easier to calculate. So that's up to 1.8K, maybe less, maybe more AFVs. And AFVs are like everything. It's like infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, some utility vehicles, and so on. And then for tanks, maybe up to like some 600 tanks. But again, these are my estimates from what I've heard, what kind of units are there, how many of those units are there on Avdiivka direction, and yeah, so like plus, so it's 100,000 manpower, like Russians. 100,000 Russians and about 1.8 thousand AFVs and 600 tanks. That's the rough estimates. Let's see what you guys think. Oh, everything broke. Nice. Numerov said 4,000 killed in Avdiivka. Yes. Numerov, yes. Yes. Already there's 20 plus 1,000 in Avdiivka. Yeah, that's true. That's actually true. Like, because 4,000 killed, that's at least like 12,000 with the injured and everything. So those numbers are quite possible. Georgie, have numbers been sent to front lines? Yes, my problem with Abrams sent to front lines, like let's come back to my rant, right? So you see this, you see like, oh, Russia has 600 tanks. Let's send 30 Abrams, 30 like Abrams, best tank ever. So my problem is this. Do you understand my issue with 30 Abramses making it to the battlefield? I hope this makes it clear. Rant. Yeah, it's a rant, but like it's a rant that's been, you know, I mean, my problem with this rant is I'm making this rant pretty much every day, and we've learned nothing, like nothing still. Yeah, I mean, like, Flashy, you're saying they can't have so much tanks. Watch Covert Cabal videos. Like, seriously, watch Covert Cabal videos. You are absolutely misunderstanding the scale of this war. You're looking at this war like people, I believe, like maybe in Pentagon or somewhere else are looking like this is like some kind of small operation. It's not. It's not a small operation. Literally hundreds of thousands are fighting. Literally thousands of tanks are fighting. Thousands of pieces of artillery. Hundreds and thousands of pieces of artillery. Like, don't get me wrong. I would love this to be a very small conflict, but it's not. It's a huge war. It's incredibly huge war. It's like, oh, but why don't you shoot a drone from a shotgun? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Russian tanks are built for the Tosin. Russian tanks are built to be drivable as simple as possible. Like that's the Soviet doctrine. The Soviet doctrine was to build for the mobilized military, for the, how do you say, for the farmers, like slave farmers that Russia had, that they couldn't move from their villages. So the point was to put them in these tanks by hundreds of thousands, and then they will drive over anything that the West has to offer. That was the doctrine of the Soviets. Yes, like our whole, like that's the best part. It's like Timotheos, NATO has been built for air warfare. I agree. Then why are airframes only now there? You see? Thanks for dummies. Yes. It's like just stand more shit. Anyway, that's my rant. Where I'm standing right now. Let me go back to questions. And I should probably actually wrap up questions quite soon because I have like 30 minutes left of the stream. Let's go. More questions. Why do Russians support this war? It isn't good for them. It gives them nothing. Why? It's because they don't care. It's because they don't care. Because they think that's like, okay, whatever government is doing is right. And like, so Russian mindset, they live so shit. Majority of Russians have been brought up in absolute poverty. Like, well, even if not poverty, it's conditions that are so inhuman. Russian culture, the culture of like people, their society, how their society communicates to each other, it is so incredibly toxic that they feel like an abuse victim, like a bully victim. Imagine like if everyone was a bully victim in your country. And they feel so abused and broken from their childhood up that they don't see any kind of like escape. They don't see the possibility for good happen. And then they see Ukrainians living better than them. And Russian leader, the glorious dictator Putin, comes up and says, this is what makes Russia great. You might live like shit, but this is what makes our country great. We need to show NATO, we need to defeat these so you can feel great. And all of those people that for many years, tens of years, were growing up as these abuse victims that had no future, the only best day for them was Friday and Saturday because they can finally get out of work and get drunk, get wasted with Ivan. They saw, okay, now we have a purpose. Now we can actually defeat every world. We can show them what we are actually made of. And they feel like we're worth something. You know, we're actually making worth something. In reality, it's not. But that's their twisted perception of this. You will not hear this from a lot of their opposition, because opposition is mostly from these fancy districts of Moscow or St. Petersburg or whatnot. When you go into the Russian villages, when you start looking at the people that are living in smaller towns in Russia, you're like, this is very desperate. Like people here, They live in barracks without toilet. They've never seen the internet or anything else. They still listen everything on TV. And then for them, their great leader comes up and says, this is what makes our country great. If we would not strike, Ukraine would strike us, and now the whole world is against us. And if it's this repeated for tens of years, this is what you see as greatness. Russians are trying to achieve greatness. Their greatness lies in killing and genociding Ukrainians, killing and exterminating their culture. This is, like either legacy of the Soviets or whatever else, but this is the current Russian culture. This is who the average Russian is. And until there is change, Russian society is just going to go along with this. Why doesn't Ukraine strike the trains that deliver supplies? Next question. Thinker, anyone know if North Korean weapons would be getting used this accumulation? Sorry for, anyone know if North Korean weapons would be getting used by this accumulation? You mean like accumulation around Avdiivka? If it's around Avdiivka, yes. Money goes to Ukraine in tranches, not a lump sum. That is conservatives' way. Not a blob of money gets sucked up by the thieves in quid pro quo. Okay, US is mostly not sending money to Ukraine. Like, there is no tranches of money. There are no tranches of money. Almost now. Like, some of the humanitarian shit is coming in money. Majority of what money goes back into the US economy. The money that is sent to Ukraine is money that is being sent to US producers to rebuild the weapons that they've sent to Ukraine. So when you see $60 billion package, majority of that package goes back to US, and US sends their old shit to Ukraine. Like, for example, ATACMS missiles. Did you know that they're out of service? Did you know that they're already out of like their cycle period, that they're not supposed to be used, that they're already supposed to be recycled? Now it's being sent like this, some kind of God haven, like a gift from heaven, new technology. Wow. Don't get me wrong, Ukraine will take everything, anything. It's just, don't make a big deal of it. Like, you'd throw us scraps from the table. How effective are ATACMS against T-20 tanks, T-70 tanks? Okay, S. Moore. I'm gonna get back to this. So, like, I'm gonna show how effective ATACMS are against T-70 tanks. And so just because I have a tablet now, so I might as well do a drawing class. So this is a T-70 tank, right? So this is Fat Boy ATACMS. So when ATACMS flies, the T-70 gets destroyed, right? So currently, US, as we've heard, supplied 20 ATACMS to Ukraine, 20. Russia, by some estimates, has right now with deployed about and storage somewhere around like 4,500 tanks. So 4,000, I'm going to write it here, 4,500. So this number is bigger than this number. 20 ATACMS is not going to destroy many tanks. There we go. That's how effective ATACMS is against Russian T-70s. Time, yes. Georgie, is Israel going to a long war of attrition with Iran and other Arab states? I don't know, Arthur. Like, Arthur, you're asking like the weirdest questions, literally the weirdest ones. You're like the most ludicrous questions ever. Duncan, but thank you for your questions. Georgie, about TV influencers like Solovyov and Simonyan, how much influence do they have in Russia? And do people take them seriously? Yes, they do. Do they have power? Power of influence, they're propagandists. Did Goebbels have a lot of power in Germany? It's the same shit. Or are they just for laughs? They are not just for laughs. Will the winter season make it easier or harder for Ukraine trying to establish a control over the left bank at Dnipro? Does Rasputitsa happen south of Kherson? Yes, Rasputitsa happens south of Kherson. It will be more difficult to establish presence on the left bank of Dnipro. Mostly because of artillery. Ukraine should use $300 billion that US has to use it as... What? Ukraine should use $300 billion that US has to use it as military aid. Okay, I don't get what you're saying. Subhero, this is quadruple whammy for the US. Destroy geopolitical foe without using own manpower, destroy geopolitical foe without using own manpower, invest in your own defense economy, save money not decommissioning old shit, garner positive political capital. Yes, I mean it's W's all across the board. It's because the message was bad. Like I already said, like that this is it's a huge problem for messaging, and thankfully Biden has started working. Like, is that a coincidence, do you think, guys, if that I made my video where I was saying that US and European leaders should adjust their messages, and then Biden comes out and adjusts his message? Oh, I'm not saying that I did it, but it feels good. Georgie, if Belarus turns sides against Russia, it will not turn sides against Russia. It's Arthur, like, it's... I think I'm gonna soon start just to ignore your questions. It's like a fantasy novel style questions, most of them. It's just like a fan fiction. It's like, wow, but if Belarus turns its back against Russia, you know, things can change, right? It's like, dude. Do we know what the Ukrainian fortifications at Avdiivka consists of? Yes, but I will not tell you. Alberta, who does control Terikon next to Avdiivka? Ukraine, Russia, none. None. Right, Terikon is an extremely hard place to control. Russia controls it effectively, but it doesn't yet have ability to stay on top of it. They can get up, they can do scouting, they can do reconnaissance, but they cannot stay there, because they instantly got spotted by drones and everything. And after that, it's just Armageddon that drops on their heads. So Terikon is like a super gray zone. It's not going to be right now used. It's going to be used only later on when Russian troops will enter further south towards Avdiivka, if they will enter. Emotional engines. Why are we still seeing no footage from Abrams tanks in action? Maybe they were not in action yet. I mean, technically, we never saw Challengers 2 in action, but we saw a burned Challenger. So if it was burned, maybe it was in action. Like, we need to understand that as observers, we are running on information that is really bad and super bad. That's how we're making decisions as observers and analysts. For this war, the information that we have access to is dog shit. For the most part. The fact that we can try to make any kind of sense from it, estimate, is a miracle, because majority of the information that we are getting is really, really bad. Really bad. So it's the fact that we're not seeing anything in action doesn't mean it's not in action. The fact that we didn't see something lost doesn't mean that it wasn't lost. We are really, really barely scratching the surface of what's happening on the front lines of this war. Will Israel now supply military aid to Ukraine? I think Israel has bigger problems right now. Do you know if Israel have to pay for the repairs of Gaza, or do Palestine have to deal with it? I think this is a bit premature, Matt. Hi, Fra Diku, by the way. Can I say self-hi? Like in Danish, there is a nice retort. Like when someone says thank you, you can say like thank you yourself. Is a self-tak. And self-tak is very fun. I just like how it translates to English. And I was thinking, is like if someone says like "Hey" from Denmark, can I say "Hey yourself"? And is it offensive? Free Dylan, yeah. Dylan is great actually. I watched Dylan before he went to Ukraine actually. I don't agree with his take on Israel, but it's democracy, you know. We have a right to our opinions. He has strong arguments for his takes. I don't agree with a lot of them, but yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, Matt. I know it's not right. Yeah, but it would be a nice thing. It would be a nice thing. Yes, I think that's all of the questions. So I can close the question chat. Ooh, no one's writing questions. Lucky. Oh, wait. As soon as I said, do you have a good estimate of how many 150mm shells are coming into Ukraine and if production is ramping out fast enough? Some, but really, really poor. Nothing that I can say for sure, mostly because the information that I had got really muddied when US started sending cluster munitions to make up the stock of 155mm shells, and since then my calculations never got in line, so it's in tens and hundreds of thousands per month for sure. Georgie, do you think sanctions against Russia are working? Yes. Hello, do you think with the recent Hamas visit to Moscow that relations will improve between Ukraine and Israel? I really hope so. At least Israel community has been reaching out to a lot of Ukrainian community. I've listened to some of the radio shows on Ukraine where Israelis came aboard to those radio shows and vice versa. And it showed that there is a certain level of sympathy that arose from this awful situation. Did Russia shoot down 25 planes in 5 days? Yes. The painted ones on their airstrips. Brett Golding, which factor will Russians' economy play in them losing the war? It depends. I think Russian economy struggling will ultimately bring this war to a complete end. Something that I believe was Biden's policy from the start, to make sure that Ukraine not only wins this battlefield victory and prevents Russia from taking over Ukraine, but that the war ends because Russia would not be able to wage war, period, because economy and so on. So Russian economy, I believe, I think that they're correlated with what Russian military is doing on the front line. It's not that like, oh, if you have poor military, then suddenly you have a great economy. That's not how it works. They're correlated, and I believe they're more and more aligning with each other. So as long as Russia has certain economy, I still think that's like all the signs are showing that within 2 years Russia is going to be in really serious troubles. Really serious troubles. I mean, it's already in trouble, but I mean like catastrophic, like absolute catastrophe. Winter is good for Avdiivka. Yes, defending in winter is better. Is poison vodka now being used by the orcs? No. Will the Russians build new defense this winter? Yes. Can Ukraine stop them? I would hope so. Did Russia shoot down? No, sorry. What factor will Russia's economy? Okay, no, right. If you were general for a day, I hope I would not. How many attackams variants do you send? I see the amounts sent to be test beating. I think 20 is a good start. I think this is what I was saying when attackams weren't sent last year. And the argument was, remember, there was like a number of arguments that were stated why attackams shouldn't be making their way to Ukraine. And I said, why are you deciding that? Why are my counter argument saying is like, oh, Ukraine doesn't need attackams right now. That was an argument was, why are you deciding them? Why don't you send a small batch attackams right now? Ukraine will try to use it, and then they will tell you whether that was worth it or not. And at that moment, like a year ago, if 20 attackams would made it to Ukraine, I would be like, perfect. This is perfect. But we're here only now. So only a year later, we're now seeing 20 attackams made it. So I think 20 attackams is fine. Sending in a test batch is good. I have no problem with that. Rumors Putin died from a heart attack. Yeah, wishful thinking. Yes, absolutely. Glenn Marley, rumors. Heard Russians have started making Ukrainian POVs join Russian army. Is that true? No, it's propaganda. Okay. Riddle me this. So, Ukrainian POV. You went to a war because Russia invaded your land, raped women, killed a friend, killed a couple of your colleagues, murdered like some villages, like if we take US, let's say Maryland, like burned the Maryland to the ground, raped the people of Maryland. Is Maryland a city? I don't know. Let's go for Maryland. I don't know why, but because I was in DC. And then like, you were fighting against us. Well, now you can fight and go rape your neighbors instead. Now you can go, instead of having and defending your homeland, why don't you, that you did before, now you can go and rob your homeland. I mean, can there be like a 1 or 2 people like that? Yes, but that's not like any kind of scalable. It's a pure propaganda narrative. Absolute dog shit. Do you know that Slovakia gave everything it could to Ukraine, so Fico's statements are meaningless? Slovakia was the first to provide air defense and jets. Yes, Kaimo, I know that. That's why I said that we shouldn't be too harsh on Slovakia. Marco, you're a very good tea. You're very good tea. What do you... You are very good tea. What you do? How long have you been on YouTube? Like a year and a half ish. Like my first videos appeared on like June last year. Yeah, like a year and a half. What do you think of Brits drone distributor? Can they use Russian drones against them? Any drones, like just more shit. Doctor, just send more shit. And any drones. Ukraine will find a use. Let's put it this way. Sarah, did you see Israel politicians on live show telling Russia Israel is coming for you? Yeah. Israel has a little bit more current problems right now. I saw that. It was like heartwarming, but we shouldn't look too deep into it. Besides, Bibi still is big Putin's friend. So there's that. Okay, questions over. No more questions. That's it. Let's round it up. Let's round it up, guys. What is your stance on Hungary today? Fuck Orban. Do you think Putin really heart attack? No, it's your wishful thinking, Tess, unfortunately. T testosterone. My T testosterone, yeah. I thought T is like for Taj Mahal or something. Sorry. You should vote to exchange Hungary and Slovakia for Ukraine. Yeah, I hope so. I hope don't get me wrong, I don't want Hungarians out of EU. Hungarians are amazing. Like some of the really great friends I know are from Hungary. My wish is like, can you not make authoritarian regimes that are supporting fascism inside Europe? We've been over that. Can we please not? especially Hungary. Yes. And then we need a slate. All right. Last readout for the donos and memberships. Thank you so much for everyone. Bigoti, Mike Johnson is a right-winger. Yes, yes, yes. Is a right-wing menace, not a compromise. He had to be able to bring the crazies. Yeah, unfortunately. Thanks so much for 20 bucks. Sonke, thank you so much for 5. Will, thank you so much for 10. RICO Act, if HR 4175 RICO Act seized Russian money for Ukraine passes, so Ukraine get equipment or cash. I believe if it's like, I would see no problem if US will take that money for themselves and send weapons to Ukraine. I see no problem with that at all. I mean, they can be nice. They say, we're going to give you the money only if you buy from us. That's capitalism, baby. And I, again, see no problem. As long as Ukraine gets additional support, I see no issues. Absolutely none. If countries are part of NATO, their new leaders need to pass a test that they shit I made. Yes, DMC, thanks for $5. Michael, thank you so much for 20 memberships. Appreciate. Margarita, welcome to Brother in Arms. And that's it. We're done for today. Guys, video coming tomorrow. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you so much for supporting Ukraine. Again, check out, I mean, don't check out anything. I'll give you something to go for. We're actually planning a new program with actual nice spicy benefit for you all to have, and I'm pretty sure you will like it. Maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow, if not next week. I just need to figure it out. In any case, I love you all. I truly do. Thank you so much for being here with me. This means a world. And this means not just a world, this means a Ukraine. So, Slava Ukraini, guys. I'll see you next time.